War. Huh. What is it good for? Well, winning games of Magic. Say it again. Combat is one of Magic's original core mechanics. You remember combat? But has often taken a backseat in Commander to other means of winning, like combos and Approach of the Second Sun. Even when it does show up as a means of victory, it usually involves one single all-out assault with a Craterhoof Behemoth or Triumph of the Hordes. Slow, incremental damage is not the way to victory in Commander, or so goes the conventional wisdom. Well, that may no longer be the case. A new legendary creature from Kamigawa, Neon Dynasty, has come along to remind us that combat is fun, and even value addicts and spikes can enjoy it as much as the most casual of casuals. So presented here is a guide to Isshin, Two Heavens as One, combat-ready Commander deck. Isshin, Two Heavens as One is a 3/4 legendary human samurai for a red, a white, and a black that reads, if a creature attacking causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. We've had commanders that double enter the battlefield triggers and death triggers, and now we have a commander that doubles attack triggers. Huzzah! Card draw, ramp, token creation, and even extra combat effects are all within the realm of possibility when our creatures attack. And with Isshin, Two Heavens as One, we can have it all and more. Our first order of business is to maximize the number of combat steps we get to take. Aurelia, the war leader, is a 3/4 legendary angel with flying, vigilance, and haste. Whenever she attacks for the first time each turn, untap all creatures you control. After this phase, there is an additional combat phase. With our commander in play, that translates to 2 additional combat phases. Note that Aurelia only untaps our other creatures the first time she attacks each turn, so we'll need another way of untapping our creatures on that second extra combat step. That's where a pair of white enchantments comes in, Sarah's Blessing and Brave the Sands. These both cost 1 generic and a white mana and grant all of our creatures vigilance, so they don't even tap in the first place. These serve double duty in this deck, allowing us to gain the benefits of our attack triggers while keeping up our defenses. Brave the Sands even allows our creatures to block 2 of our opponent's creatures at once. Now, if 2 extra combat sounds like we're thinking too small, may I present Sword of Hearth and Home? You see, whenever a creature equipped with Sword of Hearth and Home deals combat damage to a player, we may exile a creature we control and then return it to the battlefield under our control. Target Aurelia, and when she returns, the game will see her as a brand new Aurelia, meaning that her extra combat ability can trigger again, giving us even more combat steps. If none of your opponents have a way to block the creature equipped with Sword of Hearth and Home, and one of our vigilance enablers is in play, that could simply mean game over. Even if that isn't the case, there is much more to say for swinging in multiple times a turn. For good measure, let's add a few more spells that grant us extra combat steps as well. Spells like Waves of Aggression, Relentless Assault, and Response Resurgence. Now that we've established how to attack as much as possible, let's look at some payoffs for doing so. Arr! Captain Lannery Storm is a 2/2 legendary human pirate with haste for 2 generic and a red that creates a treasure token, or in our case, 2 treasure tokens whenever she attacks. Goldspan Dragon does the same exact thing when it attacks, with the added bonus of making those treasures crack for 2 mana each. Hero of Bladehold creates 2 1/1 soldier tokens that are tapped and attacking whenever it attacks, all while giving other attacking creatures a small power boost. Both of these triggers double with Isshin on the battlefield. Handwire Garrison creates 2 1/1 human tokens whenever it attacks, and it melds with Handwire Battlements to create Handwire, the Writhing Township, which will make a plethora of 3/2 Eldrazi horrors instead. Krenko, Tin Street Kingpin, gets a +1/+1 counter on it whenever it attacks, and then creates a number of 1/1 goblin tokens equal to its power. In this deck, that will get out of hand very quickly. For the sake of nostalgia and raw cool, we'll throw in a Grave Titan. It's 2022, but Grave Titan is still a beast. That gives us 2 zombies enemies every turn it attacks. And if you think 2 isn't a lot, well, with our commander, it makes it 4. With all these creatures attacking, let's find some ways to power them up, shall we? Ankle Shanker grants all our creatures first strike and death touch for the rest of the turn whenever it attacks, while Pyreheart Wolf grants them menace. Fervent Charge gives our attacking creatures +2/+2 until the end of turn whenever they attack, and Gleam of Battle puts +1/+1 counters on them. We've gained mana sources, creature tokens, and keywords from attacking, so how about a little card advantage? Greven, Predator Captain, allows us to turn those creature tokens into card draw whenever it attacks by sacrificing them and taking a small amount of damage. Greven is also likely to grow quite large in the process. When it comes to card draw, the usual suspects are joined by a couple of friends who, you guess it, like attacking. Glint Sleeve Siphoner costs 1 and a black and gets an energy counter, remember energy, every time it attacks. Or 2 in our case. And on your upkeep, you can pay 2 energy to lose a life and draw a card. Audacious Thief costs 2 and a black and doesn't even wait for our upkeep, drawing us cards and costing us a minimal amount of life whenever it attacks. Now we come to a set of cards I affectionately refer to as the Day Runers. Ulamog's Crusher, Artisan of Kozilek, and Pathraiser of Ulamog. I'm sensing a theme here. Well, it's a trio of Eldrazi that requires significant investment, but the payoffs are incredible. All 3 have the Annihilator ability, which is an attack trigger. Not only will these Eldrazi swing in for enormous amounts of damage, but they will force our opponents to sacrifice enormous numbers of permanents when paired with Isshin. It is difficult to wage war without resources, and with double Annihilator, your opponent's resources will quickly run dry. With all of this combat, there is a strong chance you are going to tap out of all your creatures at some point. When that happens, there's an excellent way to not die on the crack back. Ink Shield. For 3 generic, a white and a black, Ink Shield will prevent any combat damage headed your way the turn you cast it, and provide you with a small army of 2/1 flying blockers. If those Inklings survive until your next turn, they can make for decent attackers as well. With the meat of our deck out of the way, let's talk potatoes. You know, potatoes. You'll want your usual ramp package of soul rings, soul signets, soul talismans, and soul wayfarer's bauble. But let's also throw in a soul Sword of the Animist, an equipment that allows you to search your library for a basic land and put it onto the battlefield whenever the creature equipped with it attacks. Sorry, my bad. Make that 2 basic lands, thanks to our commander. Have I mentioned Isshin doubles our attack triggers? I feel like I may not have stressed that enough. White, black, and red are a great color combination for removal, and I see no reason to move too far away from classics like Swords to Plowshares, Path to Exile, Generous Gift, Chaos Warp, and Anguished Unmaking. Being in these colors does give us access to one of the most powerful board wipes in the game, Ruinous Ultimatum, which costs 2 black, 2 red, and 3 white. And yes, that is indeed a hefty cost, but it will destroy everything your opponents have, except their lands, and leave you unscathed. I'd call that worth it. Just for fun, let's add a Mana Tithe to the mix. Nobody suspects a counterspell in Mardu. Excuse me. So while war may be nothing but a heartbreaker, with a deck like this, that need only apply to our opponents. And thanks to Isshin, 2 heavens is 1. It can mean everything Magic has to offer and more. And I hope very much this video has been of some help to you. What deck would you like to see a tech on next? Let me know in the comments below. With tap Stark to destroy your own Darksteel Citadel, an indestructible artifact land. With that still on the stack, untap Stark using either 1000-year Elixir or Magerite Stone. Then tap Stark again to destroy your opponent's creature or artifact. Your opponent's creature or artifact will be destroyed, and they will gain control of Stark. But the destroy trigger for your Darksteel Citadel will then resolve, giving you back control of Stark. And, of course, since Darksteel Citadel is indestructible, you've lost nothing in the process. Other good targets for Stark's ability are, of course, Darksteel Pendant and Darksteel Ingot. Though with this deck, don't be afraid to destroy your own stuff, or just sacrifice Stark to avoid giving him away to an enemy.